1930s. Anyway, look, over to Torstein. Take it away, our man in Greenland.
I'm Torstein Vidal, and I go by Going South on the interwebs. I'm a podcaster with Extinctionati, which started during the pandemic back in the heyday. And I'm also a writer, and I've been just having one winter of writing in Greenland since 9 years ago, right? So I initially just went up here for a winter, but then it kind of grew on me. So I've been in Nuuk, Greenland since 2017.
Maybe you'd like to say something about your. I mean, obviously you're from Norway originally. Why you decided? I mean, many Norwegians will be thinking, let's go somewhere warmer, but you went somewhere colder.
Yeah, it's kind of inspired by Norwegian guys like Ibsen and Hamsun, other writers, right? And they would always sit down in Rome or on the Riviera or whatever when they were in exile. So I was thinking about that many years ago, and I thought, hmm, I'd like to do that as well, but I wouldn't want to be in a very warm or very hot place. Obviously, after having been on holiday to Greenland, it's kind of grew on me the idea to just be an emigrated writer person, but in a more suiting climate for me, at least. It's like the same as my daddy. He didn't like the heat either, so I'm kind of working better when it's chill around me, and I don't even have to pay for air conditioning, right? It's just to
No.
open the window.
Well, look,
It's fine.
can you just say something about heating? It's obviously quite a big thing, and you're kind of still in winter there. Is it, is there any sun?
It's very dark for very many hours. But today we actually had some cold after, January of 2026 so far has been above zero, above freezing in Nuuk anyway. So it's not like it's the coldest place in Europe. It's actually one of the warmest capitals in Europe this winter, I think.
You're telling me Nuuk is one of the warmest capitals in Europe? No,
Actually, yeah.
no, surely not. I mean, you're. I mean, okay. So, what part of the year is it icy, snowy there?
It's in the winter, but like on the 4th, I think, of January, we had 11.3 degrees above zero here, and that's warmer than the average temperature in July. So, it's like as warm as on the warmest day in summer.
Why
So
is that?
I think it's just kind of chaotic weather systems. We also had that on winter solstice when I was celebrating that 4 or 5 years ago. We had like 14 degrees or something on the 21st of December plus, right? So it's weird. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, maybe it's wind currents or something. Doesn't sound quite right. Anyway, what's your, because I know you do with going south a lot. You're looking at climate a lot, and there are sort of various views on this. Some are quite extreme, that the ice caps are going to melt, the glaciers are all going to melt, the sea levels are going to rise, and there are also some who say there's nothing really going on. I think my position is I've in my lifetime seen our winters get much milder to the extent where, for example, this winter we've had pretty much no snow here in Bristol, which would be completely unheard of when I was at school. Always there was, sometimes weeks and weeks of ice and snow. So clearly something's going on. What's your take?
Yeah, Greenland has ice that fell as snow over 1 million years ago, over 1 million winters ago. And if it all goes, it will raise sea levels 8 meters. And I asked the AI how many cities and towns would be submerged with those 8 meters, and that's like thousands of towns across the planet.
Yeah, but is it going to happen? This is the point. What do you think?
Yeah, it's now 25 years ago that we passed the ice sheet tipping point for Greenland, which is sort of an open secret. They don't want to talk about it, and my kind of hunch is that all of this brouhaha about invading or buying Greenland is kind of a cover-up of the fact that we lost all control of the melting process, and we're sort of we're long past, quarter century past the point where we can actually stop it or slow it down. It's just self-perpetuating, as they say.
Yeah, well,
You have
look, I
the
mean,
you
where
have
you are
these
in Nuuk, I mean,
yeah.
it's not even in the Arctic Circle, is it? So you're probably somewhere like, isn't it roughly the same sort of latitude as Bergen or somewhere like that? Have you actually been up north at all in Greenland? I wonder, is there much transport when to the really icy places?
I have been up north. I've been to Ilulissat, which is a town that is named for the icebergs. It actually means the place with the icebergs, and that's where you have Jacob's Haven Glacier, which is the most iceberg producing glacier tongue in the northern hemisphere. And so it's sort of the most. It turns out the most icebergs in cubic kilometers north of Antarctica, right? And it's a fantastic place. My first town in Greenland as a tourist. And when I came there 9 years ago, it was the town had more dogs than it had human inhabitants. But that's changed now due to the ice conditions. So now they only have dogs because they need them for transport and for hunting and going on sled tours for fishing and hunting and stuff. And when there's no sea ice to travel on anymore, they kind of sell off the dogs and buy a boat instead. So uh, that's kind of the change that we've seen over the past decade up there.
Well, look,
Uh,
there's another side to all of this climate stuff, and that is the solutions which are being so-called. I mean, we're talking about things like the carbon credit system, the net zero programs. What do you think of the ideas that are being put forward as the so-called solution?
Well, all of that kind of feels like what we call too little, too late, and it feels like it's continuing to be mostly a hoax, like it was in the 1990s when me and lots of other Norwegian youth started out on this climate beat, right? You had Gro Brundtland and his kind of oily, slick politicians, and they'd talk up a good game about sustainability and whatnot. But what they did was actually to increase the oil and gas output from the North Sea, and they were just snakes basically. And it's never improved. They've upped their talking game, but it's always kind of the wrong solution at the wrong time or in the wrong century for doing anything. So you really gotta if you're gonna do something, you kind of have to do it in time, right? It's like if you have a child which is on the premises on the tip of a hill or a fall, right? Yeah, you gotta run over to that child and grab it before it falls off the cliff, because that's you can you can run and have a nice photo finish, grab and stuff all you want, and take as many takes as you want. 10 or 15 years after you lost your child, but it's not good. And every normal person understands this, that you have kind of a deadline for saving that child. You can't just choose to do another take after it falls off, right?
No,
It's
no.
the
So,
same
okay,
way with
look, I
the
mean, the
climate
thing is, though,
policies.
we can complain about this, and many people do all the time. But what can be done now in order to either reverse or I mean, are there any solutions, or is it just a totally bleak message you have?
It's kind of the same message as Joy Division and other post-punk guys had in the 1970s and 80s. It's like we're already a fallen society and a fallen kind of civilization, and the decay is here. It's not really new to the people of my generation anyway. It's bleak, it's Joy Division, it's grunge, and it's punk basically.
So there's no way to stop the rot.
No, but we can write some nice poems about it and do some great music, and there's lots to take from, I think.
Well, look, I mean, Joy Division is not everyone's flavour. All I'll say, it's one of those things I dipped into when I was around about 18, 19. It's just a bit dark. Of course, the lead singer, he threw himself off the cliff, never mind fell. Ian Curtis, I think was his name. But look, at the end of the day, we do need to know a certain amount what to do. And what evidence would you put forward that the changes in the climate we're seeing are man-made?
Well, we have of course the climate science that everybody talks about and links to, etc. And if you read that, let's say if you read that with the truth in mind, with kind of a detective Sherlock Holmes kind of mindset, right? You will see that some people are doing sort of the primary science, and they get to these and these conclusions about passing the tipping points for the permafrost, for the sea ice, for the inland ice and stuff. And then you have other people who are editors of the IPCC reports and stuff, and the senators in America and whatnot, and they really want a reality in which a vote for their party is going to solve it. And I'm sorry, I have to tell those people who believe that it's not that sort of a problem, and you can't just create, even though I'm a writer myself, I'm a creative writer myself, but you can't really, as a politician, create the climate situation that suits your needs for votes, for climate votes, or whatever. So it's a different kind of beast. It's a beast which is more like the horse in the beating the dead horse metaphor, I think, right?
Yeah, flogging a dead horse. But are there any
Yeah.
particular climate scientists you point to as you think are really robust?
Oh, I would say, being in Greenland, I kind of like Jason Box. I think Jason Box is doing a good job. He works on the inland ice sheet itself, and does some stuff with planting trees in South Greenland. And the other guy would be, I think he's called Ortun or something. He's an oceanographer from Norway, and he's one of the guys who are dethroning the people who believe a new ice age is coming to London and Amsterdam, right? The aim of collapse people from Germany. So this Ortun guy and other Norwegian oceanographers have found that actually the Gulf Stream is increasing. It's increasing, it's warmer, it's saltier than it was, and it's not going to collapse anytime soon. And even if it did, it wouldn't have -20 in London and Amsterdam. That's kind of BS.
So, I mean, isn't it possible that the world is just going through a change cycle of some sort? I mean, this is obviously we know about the Ice Age, for example. These things have happened in the past and not necessarily thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago.
Well, 2 million years ago, we had elephants in northeast Greenland, right? And if you go 30 million years ago, we had crocodiles and palm trees in South Greenland. So clearly things have happened before, and we are going through some very, very dramatic stuff now, which is kind of dramatic only if you have a computer and some graph paper, because it's not happening in Hollywood kind of speed, right? It's not very fast for a human being, but it's much, much faster than climate warming has been through the millennia, I believe.
Yeah, so do you think we will in our lifetime see, catastrophic changes, like, for example, inability to grow crops and this sort of thing?
Yeah, and that's kind of the key thing. The crop thing and the agriculture collapse is kind of the key reason why we say that within 2 decades, 25 years tops, there will be a global civilization collapse, and it will have everything to do with the food base for human societies, right? And I'm not one of those people who believe our species is going extinct, because I think that's a pretty hard nut to crack. I think we will prevail. It will just be a case of going back to picking berries or seashells or fishing, or eking out an existence in the forests or whatever. So that we call that a bottleneck, and that is something that our species, together with all the other species, is going to have to go through. And whether or not you come through the bottleneck is determines whether or not there will be, let's say, horses and dogs and cats and humans and other animals afterwards.
Well, because Bill Gates, I think it is actually in Greenland, isn't it? He's got his little store of all of these various different plant seeds in case things start going extinct.
Maybe you're confusing that with Svalbard. I think it's the Doomsday Vault in Svalbard,
Oh, right.
Spitsbergen.
Where's that?
Svalbard, Longyearbyen is a Norwegian
Ah,
slash
right. It's in
Russian
Norway. Okay.
island to the east. It's you have the Fram Strait, which is the sea between Greenland and the Svalbard, so it's to the right of Greenland. So, yeah.
Anyway, look, you're in Nuuk, which has kind of suddenly become, well, not quite suddenly, because it's been bumbling on for a few years now, but back in the spotlight, in the headlines around the world. The whole world knows about Greenland. I'm just wondering, I mean, I think your population is only around about 60,000, and you're quite a large island, a big island. Can you say what the reaction has been like in Nuuk to all of the threats by Donald Trump?
Well, it's kind of a wag the dog type situation, right? And people are rightly fed up with all the journalists and all the TV cameras in their faces and all the questions every day of what they think or what they feel. My impression is that people will just want to go back to living their lives and being a Greenlandic family or whatever. We don't really want to be the center of attention. I think in that way
Yeah, but
they're
you've got
much
no
like
choice. I mean,
Norwegians.
you've got no choice. The trouble is, the whole world suddenly noticed Greenland and talking about it.
Well, there has been reports that a lot of children are having trouble sleeping, through these weeks, and that's kind of what I'm thinking now. What triggers me, that uh, please just leave these people alone, and we didn't ask for this. And also I think it's basically a tempest in a teapot situation. And no one crumbed the hair on anyone's head yet. Nobody is walking through the streets with a black eye. There's been no fighting whatsoever, and there was some people comparing us with Gaza, which I thought was totally ludicrous. To compare Nuuk with Gaza. That means you are denying sort of the Holocaust or the genocide down there. So I do have the feeling that BBC and others just sent their teams up here to film and ask everybody and do background footage, filming and stuff, while there's not really anything happening here,
No,
right? It's
well,
just
what do you think
a
Trump
nice
is serious
excuse
on
to,
or
to
not?
travel. I think he's serious about wanting to be the center of attention. He wants to be sort of the interesting, what they say in the advertisements these days. I want to be the most dangerous person in the room or whatever. I don't know what that means, but I think he's serious in the sense that he wants to be seen as a person who might do this kind of thing, but he's not ultimately not going to do it. And even if he would do it, the question is, what would do it mean, right? How do you bomb Greenland into compliance? It's not really possible to imagine what he would do. And if he quote unquote did it, how hard would it be to undo it? Let's say a year later, would anyone even notice that he had done it? And and there's also the fact that he and his country has every right to expand and start using the old U.S. bases, then, right? The old naval bases and military bases, and to reopen them, set up new satellite dishes, whatever. Nobody is stopping him, so he doesn't really need what he's asking for. Anyway,
Interesting. I mean,
he's
this
welcome.
is not so well known, is it? That the Americans do have a, is it? Maybe you could give us the right pronunciation, Thule or Thule Air Base in Greenland. And I was also amazed to see last week that in the 1960s there was an American bomber with several nuclear bombs on it that crashed in Greenland. So, I mean, it doesn't seem to me as if the Greenland people or the Danes have really been stopping the Americans operating there.
No, you're right. They lost a hydrogen bomb on the sea ice up there in on the by the Thule base, and we have this agreement, this base agreement since 1951. So it's almost older than my mother. So yeah, it's like everything is there for the taking if they want to do it. So that's kind of why I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the movie Wag the Dog, where everything is sort of made in the studio and nothing is really happening on the ground in Albania. I think is in the film. So I think he does want to accomplish things with it. Maybe annoying the EU leaders, whatever,
Well, no, no,
or
no. It's interesting you say that because that would make sense. What we've seen, of course, is Trump trying to put an end to the Ukraine war. At least he does genuinely seem to want to do that. And it's been the British, the French, and others, and particularly von der Leyen and the EU, have been stopping him doing that. So, I mean, could it be as simple as that he's asked his people now, how can I kick back at the Europeans? This is one way he can do that, isn't it?
I think so. And if you look at how Mette Frederiksen in Denmark, for instance, she is really, really furious and has been for a year or so. And I'm kind of warming up to her, and I feel like the unity between the Greenlanders and the Danes now has been quite heartwarming, I think, because it's really only one thing to do, and it's to close the ranks and have a common front against this. We absolutely don't want anything to happen, and buying us won't ever happen, and invading us, that's a farewell to NATO, basically. So I do get why she's furious. It's just I think he's kind of playing this so-called 5D chess, right? So he makes everybody think he's going to do a move in Greenland, and the way he's going to win or accomplish what he wants or whatever is based on how other nations will react to what they believe he's going to do. Yeah, so I think he will probably get what he set out to get, but that something is not going to be Greenland. I'm pretty sure of that.
Well, look, what you're hinting at is that any thoughts of independence of Greenland from Denmark have been just forgotten for now. That sounds quite sensible. But is there such a thing? Is there a movement for independence in Greenland?
Absolutely, and the Independence Party actually doubled their representative numbers in the latest election in March last year. So they are improving in elections, and it's just that the timeline or the time scale that Donald Trump wants to act on is just too fast for any comfort for the process of liberating Greenlanders from the old colonial power, Denmark, right? You had Iceland was the latest one to leave Denmark in 1944, and before that, Norway left it in 1814 after the Napoleon Wars. But Norway was sold to Sweden, which is another story. But yeah, there is an independent process, and every last party in the Greenland Parliament is for independence. It's just a matter of how soon and how fast and under what terms, right? Because we're kind of divorcing one of the best societies in the world when it comes to healthcare and education, that kind of stuff, right? So it's not like they want to say hasta la vista this weekend or whatever. It's a nice country to be in a community with. Denmark. No one could convince me otherwise. So they just want to do it in their own time, at their own speed, and I'm sure they will have, or we will have independence somewhere further down the line. But this sort of madness with America it actually set it back a bit because there has been working groups and stuff which have done practically nothing or has been set up just to sort of to slow down the process and stuff, and that's been documented by social scientists from Copenhagen. So it has worked to slow down the independence process, but I think that will go ahead anyway. It's kind of, the worst case scenario here is not to stay in a peaceful union with Denmark. The worst case is to have sort of American Yankees in uniform patrolling the streets and stuff. That's what we don't want.
No, no. Well, I think the people in Minneapolis, for example, would say the same sort of thing. We would rather the federal troops would just go away. I mean, this is a funny one for NATO, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if what's supposed to happen if one NATO country attacks another.
No, that's and I'm pretty sure my co-host on the Extinctionality podcast would cheer for NATO evaporating over this. That's
Yeah, they've kept very quiet. They've been keeping very quiet.
That's where we come from as anti-war and peaceniks and stuff. So if Greenland could help NATO to evaporate, that would be nice. I think.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah. Listen, man.
As long as it doesn't physically harm or scare the bejesus out of the kids who live here, right? Because people's mental well-being is also a matter here, I think.
Yeah. Just to finish up on your going south at your podcast, I mean, we did discuss, I think last year sometime, this lady that set off to sail between between the Arctic Circle and the north of Russia. I think it's called the Kara Sea, the Laplev Sea, which is it's theoretically possible to sail across the top from from Norway, Sweden, Murmansk, right the way down to the Bering Straits to Alaska over the top there. But she didn't make it.
Yeah, that was quite a disappointment, I think, because, and I don't know what kind of expert she is on the ice conditions, but I felt that she stopped when she didn't really have to stop, like in the middle of August, whatever. Even though you kind of over the top with the melting, etc., in mid-September. Especially these Siberian oceans that you mentioned, they stay open for 2 or 3 months more, right? It would be absolutely no problem to complete the first ever circumnavigation of the North Pole, as she set out to do in her sailboat. So that what she did instead was to simply park her sailboat up in Alaska on some tiny island and fly back, and then she'll fly back up there next June, I think, and then carry on, which is sort of, I wouldn't be proud of doing a circumnavigation in 2 years. But I think that's silly. The reason she gave for stopping, for calling it a day, calling it a year, whatever, was that she had heard from the authorities on the Russian side about ice and rumors of ice, sort of possible ice that will come in 3 weeks, whatever. And she stopped her attempt based on, prognosis, which, I would never do that. I would just power on and sail through like Nansen or Amundsen or these guys, right? It's like we have a saying: if you're jumping on skis, then jump, right? Shit or get off the pot, basically.
Well, I mean, listen, some of them came to a sticky end, didn't they?
Absolutely. People have died on the ice and met polar bears and fallen into cracks and stuff. So who am I to say anything about that? It was just, I met this sailor last June, and we had dinner at a gourmet restaurant here and stuff. So I was kind of drawn into it. It piqued my curiosity, and I was following it every day. So I was just, and last the summer that was the absolute least sea ice we've had on record since 1979. So if she would do it in a year, it would absolutely have been 2025. And it was just clean sailing, no ice, all the way home.
How far did she get? How far, in a sort of percentage?
She got halfway. I would say halfway, right? You sail the Northwest Passage in the Canadian archipelago, and you get to the west coast of Alaska, then you're halfway. And I think she could have completed it like 4 or 5 weeks after that if she had just powered on. But that's just me.
Well, there's a challenge for us all still sitting there. Okay, anyway, Torstein, do you want to just give the listeners links to your podcast and explain how they can follow you if they'd like to?
People are familiar with Extinction Rebellion, so our podcast is called Extinctionati. There's ATI on the end there, and we are on Substack, and we are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube, Rumble, all of that, right? So if you Google it, you will find it, or use another search engine, as you always say, Tony. And we meet every Wednesday, and you can listen to us and even join us. You can be on the podcast and talk with us, have conversations with us.
Yeah, and follow you at Going South.
I'm Going South on YouTube and on X. On X is Ice Going South, because Going South was taken by somebody else.
Torstein Vidal in Nuuk in Greenland. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.
Our man in Greenland, Torstein Vidal, there on Life in Nuuk, the Lost Tula US hydrogen bombs, and of course Donald Trump. So after the break, we'll be going straight to the World Economic Forum and getting an introduction to what the WEF is all about from Dan Dix.